You might have heard the term vibe coding. I've used it myself and might be wondering what exactly a vibe code is. So let me show you what I mean by that. I built the Author Automations Hub without me knowing really how to code. I have worked with Claude Code and I've worked with VS Code, which is Visual Studio Code. And I've worked with VS Code before just to edit some files that we use for our website, but I've never really coded except for many years ago. I would write some C++ scripts, but that's like more than 20 years ago. So I understand code concepts, roughly. But I decided to tackle this project because I had seen a couple of other content creators and they showed how really they could do it. I didn't want to use Bolt and I didn't want to use Replit and I didn't want to use Cursor. There's a few apps that are out there, but I did want to try it with Claude Code because I kind of thought that it would be, easy enough to do. And I did have a mastermind group that helped me do this, but vibe coding is really just you working with AI and Claude Code in particular inside of what's called an IDE. And that's just an integrated development editor. And you telling it what you want in layman's terms, and it does the thing that you want it to do. So I'm going to give you an example. I am working on some edits to the prompt library. Specifically, this is inconsistent. You shouldn't see the blur if it's or you should see the blur if it's free. But I've also decided I wanted to add a description box to here and take away the blur so that no one has to sort of have it blurred out. I can just do a description there and then it's available for everybody to see. So with that in mind, what I did was I opened up VS Code, and this is Claude Code right here. And this is a bug that I fixed earlier today. And now I'm going to tell it on the prompts page, the blur is inconsistent. We need to make the change to the admin and display of the prompts. I need a new field description, which describes when to use the prompt, and that will be shown on the cards. And we can remove the blur and the prompt preview and just replace it with the description on the individual prompts, add a description below the title. And be sure it's still gated as a page to the right tier. So I have, as you know, if you're watching this, I have free, pro, and then founder, and it corresponds with the Substack. And so most of the prompts that I'm going to have are free, right? But there's a few of them that go with paid and pro make.com scenarios. So those will be what they call gated, right? And so I have these right here that I just want everybody to see. And so I'm telling Claude to make this change. Now, what I've done is I've put Claude in what's called plan mode right here. So in just a second, Claude's going to do a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to hit OK here. It's going to analyze all the stuff. It has these little fun things like sussing and ruminating. That just means it's thinking. And then it's going to come back. It's going to ask me if it needs to check any content. Sometimes it'll ask for permission. Most of the time it won't. It really just has free range for everything in here. And then in just a bit, it's going to come back and pop up on the right-hand side with a plan. So I will be, so it's asking me, can I access the database? And I'm just going to say, yep. Sometimes the question pops up and says, yes, and don't ask me again, which I really particularly like those because I want it to do all of the work. Okay, so that took, I don't know, about 2 or 3 minutes. Wasn't very long, but I didn't make you sit through that. And so now here's the plan. So I can come up here and I can actually look at the plan. So it's going to say, here's the summary of the issue, the state analysis, and it's giving me all the stuff about the code, what needs to change, the problem restated, the issue with the wrong tier, and then there's constraint errors, blah, 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 blah. Here's the implementation plan. It's going to change this. It's telling me why. It's going to change this. It's going to tell me what it's doing. And then I can come down here, and I do go through these pretty carefully just to be sure, because sometimes I will say, oh, wait, we fixed that just a bit ago. And so as a human, I just look through it. There's not really anything I can add to or edit in terms of telling them what code to use. That's not really something I know how to do. The other thing that I can do is sometimes I will pop this entire string, this entire plan into ChatGPT, and I will say, can you analyze this? And ChatGPT is also inside my code editor here. And so it has access to everything. So I can say to ChatGPT right here, I want to validate a code change to the prompts feature and have you double check the Claude proposed plan. And then I can go in and say, ask me anything. Ask me anything in order to evaluate this. And then I've popped it in here. I'm just going to send this over to ChatGPT and just have ChatGPT have a think about it. And it has access to the code base. It doesn't change any of the code base, but it's going to think about it. I'm ready to validate it. I need to ask some more questions. Just consider the plan. No need to make changes. Overall, the plan is solid. Now, here's an interesting thing too. On this change 6 typo, it actually should be mapped to Author Pro because the value founder has the same plan as Author Pro. So we don't want to do that. But actually that does want to, okay, so now I've kind of validated that. I'm going to come back over to Claude and I'm going to say, does any of the fields need to be pro instead of Author Pro, which is the label, not the value. Now, I only know this amount of code because I've been working on it for days and days and days. So I just want to double check that they're not introducing a new weird little glitch that we just fixed, honestly, right here. So we want to be sure the form was sending pro, and now you fix the form to use Author Pro, which I just want to be sure. So it's going to come back and think about it, but actually I'm going to pause this. I hit escape to pause it. Now I'm going to say, be sure you validate the subscription tier value for the entire prompts code. We just made a change and I want to be sure everything is consistent. So again, all I'm doing is just making sure, and I'm not even telling it what it should be. I'm just asking it to validate it because the subscription tier has changed. It used to say author_pro and now it says pro, but it might be inconsistent between the different features that I've got, workflows versus, prompts versus tutorials, etc. So I'm just in layman's terms saying, what are you doing here? The other thing to note is when it gets down to about 22%, it's going to compact the code. What it's going to do is it's going to take the context of all the things that we've done up until now, and it's going to truncate everything because you only have a context window, and it's only the things that it can handle at once. Now, the thing about it is, in your context window, everything that's in your Claude.md file, which is your overall instructions for things, it starts with this. So it fills up kind of quickly with everything. And so you don't have a lot of messages back and forth with Claude. You've got maybe 6 or 8 before it has to be cleared and started again. If you think about like with Claude or ChatGPT, you can have very, 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 very long conversations. But what you don't see is you are having very, very, very long conversations, but they're all happening kind of behind the scenes here. And it's talking to itself a lot of the time. So you're having the same number of conversations, you just don't see it. And so, yeah, so right here, it has gone into the compact mode. It's coming back and saying this session's being continued. The conversation is summarized below. The kind of the bad thing is that it summarizes a lot of things that we really didn't need. You can see it has like database calls and all kinds of stuff. The last instruction that it gives itself is, please continue the conversation where you left off. Okay, so now here's a new plan. And now I can come back and yeah, so it caught this critical bug. So the value is pro and value is founder instead of value author pro. So that's right. The founder level is going to, we just need to be sure. Founder level is supposed to have the exact same levels, permissions as author pro plus some extra ones. So we'll just go in and make sure that's right in a second. Editing any prompt will fail. Right, prompt admin, display bug, right, okay. Author Pro will display as free, right, we don't want that. Yep. Okay, so I can see back here it did check the database. So I just want to be sure. All right. All right. Okay, so now all it's doing is it's just caught this audit. So I want to go back and keep planning. And I want to also, I'm going to do an up right here. And I'm going to go back to this so that it's reminded of the things that we're doing in addition to this. So this is the original request in addition to auditing the pro issue. Make the plan reflect both. The entire issue. Request. All right, so now I'm gonna, you can see it's just sort of refining back and forth. But again, all I'm doing is saying it in layman's terms. I'm not really talking in code or telling it how to do its job. I'm just telling it what I want and just making sure that I am keeping some things in mind that I've learned along the way. That's it. And so it's going to go in and redo this plan. Okay, now it's come back with the plan again. And so now it's got the critical access, and then it's got the fixes required. Type safety's broken. Yep. Now it's got the part that I want. Replacing the blurred content with a new description field. Right? So it's going to update this. It's going to update the new prompts form. It's going to add the new description, confirm description column exists. Already exists as text nullable. Right. Okay. Field is already in the database. Oh, okay, cool. All right. Then it's going to implement the fixes. It's going to tell me what, and then what the expected outcome is. So I'm going to auto accept these changes, and then you're going to see Claude get right to work. And you can see that the context window is still just 49%. So even after that very first thing, we still just have like half of the context left, which isn't a lot, but it'll be enough to do all of this and then test it. So I'm going to type in another message here before committing the code, test it in Playwright. And this is a nifty little thing that lets Claude open up a browser window and test it. So it can test it in Playwright before it commits the code. So I'm queuing that message. It's going to keep doing all of its little things, and then it's going to read that message whenever it gets around to it, but before it commits the code. Yeah, so there it's acknowledged it. I'll complete all the code changes first, then test it in Playwright. Let me continue with the edits. It sounds like it's kind of sassy sometimes. It's actually pretty funny. A couple times I've interrupted it, and it said, I was interrupted. Before I was interrupted, I was telling you this. It gets a little saucy sometimes. I don't mind. Feels like a junior dev that thinks it's a senior dev sometimes. So it gives itself a little to-do list, and then as it does it, it ticks them off. And so I can see exactly what it's doing throughout all of this. And you can see the left is the code that it's changing, and the right is the code that it's fixed. So you can see it's going through and changing it from pro to author pro. And it's back and forth. And then when we're done here, I'm just going to go back in and make sure that it didn't break workflows and didn't break events and didn't break all the other stuff. Because I'm a little bit nervous that it might have. So it's going through. It's discombobulating. So I'm just going to queue this message up and just say, you know what? You might want to audit the workflows, tutorials, and events for the Pro versus Author Pro issue 2. Just be sure. So it's going to finish up prompts here. It's going to add the description field to the new prompt form. And then you can see over here, it's changed 6 files that'll need to be updated on the website. So it's going to create what we call a commit. But in just a second, you'll see it's going to finish all the updates. It's going to knock off that to do. And then it's going to say that it's going to test it in Playwright. And then it'll open up a window and I'll show you what it does. All right, so it's adding the description field to the new prompt form. So it's done all of this code. It's gotten rid of the blur. So you can't see that on the live site yet because we're doing all of this locally. We're coding everything on my MacBook or my Mac Mini, and then it's got to be committed and sent up to. So now it's doing the description field on the prompt form. Let me just double check here. Free Author Pro founder. Yeah, Pro to Author Pro. Pro to Author Pro. Okay, so we want Author Pro. I'm gonna go look at the database real quick. Yep, it is Pro. So I just popped over to look at the database real quick to be sure. This is the field that we're looking at, the tier field, and I just want to be sure that it does say Pro, and it does. Those are also just kind of helpful, quick looks to be sure nothing's gone a little hinky. So now it's come down here. So it's added the description to the new field, and now it's going to test it. And so it's going to run it, and then it's going to ask me if I want to run that command. And that's one of those where I can say yes, and don't ask me again. Now it's going to say, oh, something might be running on the development server. What's cool is with the development server, you can launch it to run on your own computer on localhost. So you just type localhost 3000 and then you can see the version of it before you send it up to the live server. So this is my test server. So if I go over to prompts now, I should be able to. Oh, here it is opening itself up. Okay, I'm not doing this. This is Playwright showing it, and you can see there's an issue. And so now if I come back, it's doing its own little thing over here. But if I come back to the code, it's going to find and know that there's a bug there, and it's going to go fix that bug, which is just super cool. So you can kind of see it on the back end over here. Here's where it's looking for stuff. And then here's the page. Yeah, so it's running these tests and recording what it's doing. Now, ideally, I should have not touched anything and just left it alone and let it do its own thing. But it's testing it with Playwright, and it's going to check all of the code. And it runs that little app called CodeGen up there. And it's going to see, and hopefully it'll see that there is an error on this page. You can see right down here. Invalid refresh, token refresh not found. So hopefully it will catch that error. If it comes back, sometimes it'll come back and it'll say everything's fine. And you have to go, no, actually there's an error there. Most of the time it catches it. Sometimes it gets a little zealous and it thinks it's fixed and it's not quite fixed. So but it thinks. It thinks by itself. Okay, it's sitting there thinking for too long, so I just took a screenshot and I'm going to copy that screenshot, and then I'm going to close this window, and then I don't know what it's doing, but I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to say, I didn't see you do anything for a while, but looks like there's an error. And then I'm just going to paste that image in. And then it's going to come back and say, I was thinking about it. Why are you being so mean? Yep. Okay, so it's saying it's unrelated to our changes, but I'm going to say, will users have this error? Do we need to help them log out and log in instead of failing silently? Okay, so I'm just going to ask if that's a question. So will users have this error? Do we need to help them log out and log in instead of failing silently? Also, I asked you to check the other features, workflows, events, and tutorials for global issues related to the author pro versus pro issue. So I'm asking it 2 questions, and then it's going to go back and look and see if we need to make any changes, because this is deployed code. So we just want to just check and see if there's anything that needs to be dealt with. But also in the meantime, just changing that code. This is my hosting for DigitalOcean, which is where it lives, hub.authorautomations.com. And Claude sending that fix up automatically starts a rebuild on the server. Since it's an app, it actually is needing to rebuild all of the code. So it's going to rebuild it. Build succeeded. App uploaded. So this code will be the live code at hub.authorautomations.com. It takes about 6 or 8 minutes for it to kind of fully be there. But now it's just going and checking, seeing what the constraints are, looking at the audit of the workflows, tutorials, and events, just to be sure. And then if it catches anything, since this is kind of a, sometimes we work on a certain feature and then we've got to switch and work on a different feature, and sometimes we switch and work on a different feature. There might be some things where I haven't caught it. So now I'm just going to go in and read what it investigated. So The browser, no user-facing error. No, they won't see it. We don't need to do anything. Okay, fine. That's fine. I asked. Based on the grep is a database, it's going to say prompts are already fixed. Workflow uses pro. So yeah, there are some uses pro. Okay, so there's a big inconsistency between the pro and author pro across the entire code base. So this is kind of sticky. Right. So I think we need to it's saying that Stripe is our source of truth. Stripe integration creates users with subscription tier pro. Then okay. Stop and investigate first. Okay, so now I'm going to say, this is the plan. The plan is to stop and investigate first. Okay, so now I'm going to say auto accept and investigate. So now it's going to go investigate. And I'm letting it have all the access that it needs. I need to investigate the database schema, and then it's going to use the Supabase. MCP server is just a really kind of polyglot that sits in between the APIs and the database so that it understands. Okay, I don't think this is right. Okay. Okay, it's creating a plan here, but I'm going to have it double check because there are a couple of, let's see. Okay. Here's what I want. I want the gated content to use the subscription tier, free, pro, founder, admin to determine level of access and the subscription status to determine if a pro or founder is active or inactive. That's it. If they're pro or founder, then the subscription status is updated via Stripe webhook. If their payment fails or they cancel, we need to remove any other reference to access tiers or okay. Okay, so it's starting to create a little bit of a circular mess here that I want to catch it, because it seems like before it's added some access tier, like here prompts access tier, events access tier, tutorials access tier, and workflows access tier. None of that should impact. I don't know when the access tier logic was introduced or if it's actually needed. Can you check and see if we can simplify the gating to just check subscription tier and if pro or founder, whether it's active or inactive or per Stripe webhook returned results. Use Stripe CP to confirm what should come back in that field and be sure it's allowed. Okay, so what I'm asking it to do here is I think it's made it too complicated. I think it's introduced some new things in the fields that I don't actually see in the code. Yeah, I don't see this. So I'm looking at the profile fields and I don't see this thing that they've got in there called access tier. And really, I don't need that. I just need it to keep it really simple. So basically, if their subscription tier is free, pro, if it's free, it's free. If it's pro or founder, then it's, free or pro or founder. And then there's only one admin that determines the level of access, and the subscription status to determine if pro or founder is active or inactive. That's it. If they're pro or founder, the subscription status is updated via the Stripe webhook. If it cancels, what I've done is I've created an integration between Stripe and this table, this status. So it should come back each month when everybody, renews. And if it fails or if they've canceled, then it changes their status to inactive. And then I can go in and change them and bop them back down to free if it cancels, if it actually properly cancels. But I'm not doing that right now. I'm just going to stay with this plan. So I want it to come back, and I want it to simplify, if possible, the code for all features gated content. And then, so yeah, let's see if it comes back with a plan and gets this plan right. I love it that it comes back and says, excellent insight. Let me just see. Now it's going to go out and search the Stripe documentation, like what are the possible values for a webhook? So it's going to get that, because that is going to determine what goes in that field, right? Which is the active, it's called the subscription status field. And right now everybody's just active or inactive. And all of that is just determinate by the Stripe payment status. So now it's going to go back and look. It's going to check all the docs and see what the documents say. So it's going to compare it back with Claude, and it's going to go check all the code, and then it's going to finish investigating it and see what the comprehensive plan is for those 4 things. So now it's going to come back and say, let me create this comprehensive simplification plan. And I'm just going to confirm one last thing before I let it do its thing. And the one thing that I'm going to have it do is just be sure it's not going to break authentication, because we have authentication flows in very specific places and ways. So it's going to give me the plan. And now, of course, now we're down to 23% down here. So it's probably compacting things, which always kind of changes it, right? Because it's getting the last little bit of things, which is why the last time I had to go back in and say, hey, remember all this other stuff I asked you to do last time? So it's a back and forth between these. Okay, so now here is the massive simplification plan. I love that it renamed it. Let's see what it says here. So the current architecture is overcomplicated. User has subscription tier, free, pro, founder, admin. Yes. User has subscription status, active, inactive, past due, canceled, suspended. Content has access tier, free, pro, founder. That's unnecessary. Correct. Code compares user with content tier, right? Proposed architecture simplified. User has subscription tier, free, pro, founder, admin. Yes. User has subscription status, active, inactive, past due, canceled, suspended. Content has nothing, or is just a Boolean members only if needed. We don't need it. Code checks. Is the user paid, pro, founder, and status active? Grant access. Perfect. Why this makes sense. Stripe already manages everything. Stripe subscription statuses we receive are those. Our webhook already maps these. Current database allows this. Perfect. Pro, not author pro. Perfect. The access tier fields are redundant. Yep. So we can simplify all of this. So the code must normalize if, I love how it does a little mind blowing. So the code must normalize if tier equals pro. Okay, so they're going to fix that code. Simplified logic. Content doesn't need the tier field at all. Based on tribe documentation, here's how we're going to access the status. Yep. All right. So now it's telling me what changes it's proposing. So it always breaks it down into phase 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes it'll give you days, but it usually takes like 20 minutes to do it all. It's really funny. All right. So phase 1 is remove the check constraints on access tier. Perfect. Drop constraints. Yep. Alter table. Yep. Yep. I agree with all of these. It's dropping the access tier. So yeah, so we just want to get rid of option A. Check constraints. Phase 2. Simplify it. Create a shared utility function. Okay, that's smart. Yep. Okay, so this is a pretty big change. So I'm cool with it, but we're going to test it pretty good before we let it commit the code. So the files to update, 25 files, all these workflows, and then update all the admin forms. Okay, so I'm going to have it keep planning here real quick because I don't want the drop downs to merge pro and founder because founder will have access to some things that pro will not. So there is a need for the levels. Let me see what else. What are the so they had a couple of other things down here, right? So it's kind of changing the admin into a paid member selection. So like right here, it was suggesting that it was going to change the checkbox for member only. I don't want that. In phase 4, right? And the webhook already works. Okay. So the step 1 is the migration plan. Let me do this one more time. Okay. I don't want to change to a member only naming convention anywhere. I want to leave the tiers in place. Primarily because free users have to log in and they would be confused thinking they're a member. Okay, so what it's trying to do here is it's changing things to like a paid member status, and I don't want to do member only stuff. I want to leave the tiers in place. Whoops. Okay. if I hit the up arrow button, it swaps it to the comments that I've done in the past. So I can't do that. Okay. Overall, I want to leave the tier names and gated access in place without changing that. The subscription tiers should be sufficient. Free accesses, free content only, pro accesses, pro content only, founder and admin accesses everything, including separate content for founders. Ask me questions to confirm you understand. Okay, so again, we're just, and now we're at 21%. Ugh. Okay, so now it's going to come back, and this is where you don't need to know the code, but you do need to be able to kind of pick through it to understand what you want and you don't want. And I like that it gave me an executive summary. This is right. This is right. This is right. This is all right. But when it comes down to here, it is coming to this very simplified logic where it has members only, true, false. And it's kind of introducing something new that I'm asking it to actually get rid of, right? Because I'm asking it to take away this access underscore tier, and now it's trying to introduce a new members thing. I don't want that. I just want it to be super simple. So then it's coming into this phase 2, and it's doing a can access paid content. And then it's coming back in phase 3, and it is proposing that that we simplify it. So I do a tick box that says member. And again, I want the separate tiers. And so it's right here. It's before and after. It has member only. And I don't want that. I want to leave the tiers in place. So it's close, but it's not exactly what I want yet. So I've rejected the plan, and now it's going to, do all this funny stuff real quick here. And then it's like, this is right. Removing the redundant access tier column is right. But then it's not, it's adding a couple of other things that I don't want. And it did not sort of tell me in the executive summaries or in the rollback plans how this is going to work. So now it's going back and it's going in and implementing the simplified tier. And I want to be sure that we're in plan mode. And we are, so it's going to go in and look. And it's going back and catching some stuff from earlier that it's already done, which is kind of frustrating, but it is what it is, right? So update database check constraints to use pro instead of author pro. I guess it's an extra check. That's fine. Update prompts code to use pro, a new utility. Cool. Yep. Okay, so it does have these questions in here. Okay, now it's given me another plan. Okay, so the one thing that I am concerned about is it vastly oversimplified this now. So now I want it to go back and look at the plan that you created prior to compact and compare with this plan. I think we're missing quite a few things. But I do want to come back up to this plan and right. Okay. So it is kind of thinking through some stuff here. So it got the major direction change. Yep. Critical clarification. I don't want to change to member only. I want to leave the tiers in place. User's final clarified intent. Keep the names free, pro, founder, admin, no member only naming. Keep separate pro and founder. Use the subscription tier, the access logic. Key misunderstandings, my plan. I suggested removing tier access. No, I don't want to. Okay. Okay. We can remove access underscore tier, but I want to be sure that we replace the logic with subscription tier. Okay, so that's kind of the dumb thing about the compacts is that it gets all of this stuff and it really kind of messes it up. Okay. We didn't fix this part. Okay. All right, so let's see. To confirm free, C's free, pro, C pro. Yes. Access is for active only for pro and founder levels. Free users can be inactive. This field relates to paid subscription status. So free users won't have an active status. No grace period. To keep it simple. I don't want to have to do some math that just introduces complexity. For the database changes, should I update all content table check constraints to accept Pro? Yes. But also we need to audit the code base to be sure it is Pro instead of Author Pro. I think that was cut off before the compact. Okay. For the admin forms, keep the 3-tier. Yes. Yes. Keep the 3-tier. The labels can be Pro, free, founder, and the values are is correct. Okay. Okay, so I interrupted that plan because I don't really think this is the plan that they just suggested. And you can see, compared to the one that we were working on before the compact, it's completely missing some stuff. So all of this is right. I mean, it has this like, it's not complete, right? So look at the plan you created prior to compact, compare it with this plan. I think we're missing quite a few things. We can remove access tier if you think that's the best course of action. But I want to be sure that we replace the logic with subscription tier. And subscription status. Combinations as discussed. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm saying, yes, I want to simplify it, but I don't want you to go too far. And I want you to remember some of these things that we were talking about earlier because you seem to have forgotten some of them, right? So let's come back and I'm going to stay in plan mode. I'm at 43%, so I should have plenty of context window to get this done. And I'm going to say, all right, go have a think about it. Speaking of think, there is a feature in here that's kind of cool where you can say think and ultra think. Both of those help it utilize agents, sub-agents that it's got in there. So there are different things that you can implement. Like I have a copywriter, an auditor. These are all Claude agents that have very specific jobs. So here's the hub copywriter, and it's got all my constraints and things, hooks. It is crafting a very detailed prompt, if you will, for the job of a copywriter. And then I've got a code auditor and a testing agent and a project manager and the senior front end and a UX UI reviewer. So I can tell it to bring those team members in and have it ask them to take a look at things in the context window here. It will go do those things and it won't impact your main context window here, right? So now we're at 44. It's going through, it's checking everything, and I'm going to close this up and I'm going to wait for it to give me another plan, which hopefully will be comprehensive enough to cover everything that we've talked about and not do the dumb things that I don't want it to do. So keep thinking, keep thinking, keep thinking. Oh, it's schlepping now. Cool. Yeah, so hopefully this will be completely figured out. All right, now it's got a complete picture and it's going to create another comprehensive plan. And then let's see what it comes back with. All right, here we go. Let's just review this. So standardize all tier-based access control to use subscription tier and subscription status from the profiles table. Fix incorrect tier hierarchy where pro users currently get founder content. Oh, that's not good. All right. So confirmed requirements. Tier access hierarchy. Free is free. Pro is pro. Founder is free plus pro. Okay. Admin, everything. Perfect. Status gating. Only active status gets status. No grace period. Database check constraints to match the profiles. Admin forms, keep the 3 tiers. All right, so now it's looked at the database, and here it says, all right, all 4 tables use Author Pro, so that's got to be fixed. Yep. Already use Pro. Okay. Okay, so it's going to fix the constraints there. Now it's going to create a tier check, and the tier check should only check the subscription tier and subscription status. It's going to come back. It's going to figure out that these are underscores. I'm not going to worry about them right now. Fix the prompts code. Replace Author Pro with Pro. Good. Fix the tier hierarchy logic. All features. Okay. Okay. Tutorials, events. It's going to fix that. So this is a pretty major one. Test the free. Yep. 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 Okay. So now it's got everything. All right. So I'm going to let it go through and accept those edits. And now I've accepted it, and now it's going to go think about it and get everything. And I'm going to, it's kind of interesting. You can pull up the website here. And if you click into, like, for example, workflows, you'll see stuff break and then you'll see it fix it. So it's always interesting to see how it can Yep. So this is where it's standardizing things. And it's doing stuff and then it makes a mistake and it goes, oh wait, I was supposed to do it this way. So now it's going to fix all of these files. Now it's doing centralized tier-based access control logic. And remember, we pushed that original fix, and it is live. It did go live, so we have that. But remember, we're breaking it to fix it a little bit better now. So things work, but don't work the way we want it to. So now it's going to go fix all of the 8 prompts files, and it's changing it back from author_pro to pro, because pro is what we verified is in the database. So now we're making everything consistent throughout here. And this is what happens a lot of times when you're working on code and you work on one feature at a time. I will very often say, go look at the workflows and do this new feature like you did the last feature. And then I do the same thing for events. And then I do the same thing for prompts. And so for whatever reason, this got out of kilter. Yeah, so now it's creating these prompt access tier from author pro to pro. That's right. Prompt access tier from author pro to pro. That's right. Now it's fixing the pages. So you can see. And then it'll come back and it'll cross that to-do off, and then it'll go to the next one. So now we're at 36% of a context window. So if we get down to like 28, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to copy that plan. I'm going to clear the window, and then I'm going to have it come back and start it again, because it's really kind of losing steam from context refresh to context refresh, which is a bummer. And I've looked to see how it's possible to increase the context window. And one of the things that is suggested is if you go in and you update this claude.md file to be as compact as you can. I've done it twice now, and I gained back about 15% more with each session. But I just don't know how I can get it down any farther. I've gotten it down as far as I can get. So it's going to keep finishing up here. And so it's fixed the code in the tables, and now it's going to go fix the API route, because really all we're doing is calling our own APIs to do this. This is what the actions are in the back end for the code. It's just fascinating to see it do this, right? And again, I don't have to write code. I don't care. All right, so now it's fixed the prompts codes. So now it's going to go fix the logic in workflows, which is one of the features. Then it's going to do tutorials. Then it's going to do events. So we're in workflows here. You'll see it break in just a second, which is fun. Okay, I'm going to stop it here, and I'm going to ask it to look at some code, because there is no, can you check your logic? You're introducing something with a public tier which doesn't exist. right? So as I'm going through and seeing this, there is no public tier. Yeah, I don't want public access to anything. So this is why you sort of watch things, because it's introduced some silly, silly stuff. Let me go back and see. Yeah, I don't see any public stuff here. And again, I'm not a coder. I'm just seeing things that I'm like, wait, what is that? Okay. Public is only for events. There you go. Okay. Okay. Okay, so it seemed to catch the workflows. Now it's going through it and working on tutorials. Okay, so now it's said that it's got it. Okay, you're committing all the changes and rebuilding stuff without testing. It likes to think it did it, but it might not have done it. So we want to test it before. Yep, it's just pushing everything out to the live site. That's just great. That's hysterical. I'm saying, shouldn't you test before you commit the changes to the live site? Just checking, just saying. Goofy. Goofy! Claude, you silly goose. All right, let's see what it did. Database migration updated the check constraints on the 4 tables to accept Pro. Perfect. Yep, go check it. Go check your work here, Claude. We already got a build happening over here. That's hysterical. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, that's good. The modal for it's a small thing, but this sign in to watch looks different than this download workflows. I prefer this. Yeah, I prefer this. So I'm just wanting those to be consistent. This is nitpicky stuff at this point, but it is sort of stuff I want. There's that. All right, so I'm not logged in, and I'm just making sure that everything that I'm doing as a not logged in user is working. Okay, I don't have any tutorials yet. Events should be public and open, right? And so I should see the pricing. And then if I go to register, perfect. And if I sign in, okay, that brings me back. Okay, that's what I want. Okay, that workflow works. Let's look at prompts real quick. Yep. 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 Okay, so now I'm going to go, I want to do a free, I'm going to continue to log in. I'm going to use this account, which is a pro user. So it brings me back. I don't love that it's not coming back. I'm not going to stress it. Okay, so now I should be able to see this free prompt. Okay, there's no description on the prompts. Okay, it's on the detail page. You'll figure that out. Okay. The prompts detail page doesn't have the description we added earlier on the page. Okay, so that's missing. All right, so now I'm going to go in, I'm going to sign out of my testing account, and it's come on. Takes a minute. All right, now I'm going to sign in with my admin account. I'm going to go to admin, and then I'm going to go to prompts library, and I'm going to edit this prompt. Brief description. Okay, so the description's there. Okay. Now, earlier, what prompted all of this was I was trying to add a new prompt. Oh, look, it just did a context window reset. Use the exact same okay, that's good. All right, the thing that I do want is the prompts detail page doesn't have the description we added earlier on the page. But before I send that, I'm going to put in the prompt that I was working on earlier. Grab this. Grab that. Here is the okay. This is going to be a social media caption generator with Pinterest and TikTok scripts. All right, so use this with a make.com ChatGPT module to generate social media captions for all platforms. Oops, platforms. TikTok. Oops. Let's do Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, and Pinterest. A book chapter. You can also modify this for general ChatGPT or Claude use. Okay, so this is going to be social media, and this is going to be pro level, and it's going to be make.com. Pinterest, pin caption, TikTok script. Okay, and then I'm going to create that prompt. It was stuck earlier. Oh yeah, now it's working. Now I'm actually creating these on the back end here. But if I go back over to the hub, even though I'm testing, we use the same database. So it should be there, but it is not. Let's see why. Can you confirm? Can you add that to the page and confirm how long the description should be for the card display? Okay. Now let's get a plan for this real quick. And then we're going to push and commit the changes and do a rebuild here in just a second. All right, let's see. Okay, so now I'm going to accept this. Oh, I see. It's actually smarter than me. I was saying that it wasn't there, but it's there if I've typed in a description. But since I haven't typed in a description, it wouldn't be there. So that's actually not something we need to worry about, but I'm going to use it. It's got the tags, it's got the copy. Perfect. All right. Great. Commit those changes in push. So DigitalOcean deploys. We made a lot of changes, so I want to get them up to DigitalOcean. So now I'm going to pull over DigitalOcean and just check. And hit, there it goes, and it started building automatically. Awesome. Now we can go to the build logs and we can watch it, because if any of the code that we didn't fix or we fixed and it's still janky, it will catch it here. But it's building the app right here. There, it's got all the dependencies. All right. These are all warnings. All right, the build failed. So now the type subscription tier and gift have no overlap. Okay, so now we need to come back up here. Failed to compile. All right, so now what I can do is I can go grab this real quick and copy that. And then come back over here, and I'm just going to pop this in. And I'm going to say gift subscriptions come from Substack and should be treated as a pro subscription. Okay, so Substack gives gift subscriptions, and so the subscription tier that's come through on some of them says gift. And so, but they'll change, when we do once the gift is over. So it says it's, not there. So now they're going to figure out what needs to be there. And this actually came from my all subscribers list. All right, let me see what we're going to do with this. Yeah, it's not. Okay, so yeah, so it's just going to make a quick change to that, and because we have Substack gift subscriptions that we need to deal with. So now it's saying it's just going to add the export type to be able to be available. All right, so now they're going to commit the code and push. And then it should kick off a new build here. And it did. All right, so now we're going to bop back over to the build logs. And it's thinking about it. My thinking on vibe coding, because I'm going to wrap this up now, is that it is not a, put in one line of code and it writes you an app. It's definitely not that. It is definitely possible if you are able to look at it as a collaborative. It's doing the heavy lifting of writing the code, but you can see I had to catch several things there. I had to stop it and say, wait, think about this, like with the public displays and some of these things. And then, as it goes back and forth and builds things, test, make sure everything is working, make sure everything is working the way that you expect it to. But you can definitely go back and say, hey, this didn't work the way I expected, or this is what's happening, or this is a screenshot. You don't need to kind of spaghetti string out the code in your own head to figure out what it is that you need to fix. You can really just give it details on what's happening and let it figure out how it needs to fix something, right? So you can see now the build succeeded, everything is working, and now the app is uploading. And then in just a second, you're going to see that it has deployed, and then it will be live on the site. And all the changes that we've worked on for the last 90 minutes, I guess. I don't know how long we've been going, but for all of those changes, we've fixed a bunch of things, both from the stabilization and from the standardization perspective, right? So now the build's complete and we're done. So, so that is my Sunday afternoon bug fix sesh, where I got a report from somebody on the chat window at hub.authorautomations.com. And they said they weren't able to see the prompts that they have access to. And so I went in and said, oh, hey, let me fix that for you. And so, that is done. All right. Have a good day, guys. Bye.